Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
In the morning. Thank you very much for being here. Nielson with you. Pat Gregoire with us as well. Huss out in Montreal at the President's Cup. We're going to dive into some President's Cup stuff. Thursday night football in the National Football League. CFL, another week. 4 more games to pick this week. We'll get into that as well. And if we do have time a little bit later on today, I am going to pick this man's brain on what the Toronto Blue Jays are next year. I mean, this season is finally painfully over. Never really caught my attention significantly at any point this year. I don't want to waste any time on it, but if we have some time at the end, Patty, are you okay talking a little bit about the Toronto Blue Jays?
I guess if we have to, do a bit of a postmortem, we can. But I really enjoyed this summer having a very, very low give a shit meter about the Toronto Blue Jays. It really helped my mental health.
It did help getting away from it, didn't it? Like once you had no expectations, it was okay to pop in on it every once in a while.
Exactly. I mean, let's save that. Let's save it. Let's get into the important stuff. We got lots of football to talk about today.
I've been busy. I had a meeting. I was prepping for CFL bets. I have not really checked in on President's Cup just yet. I think I heard it on your TV when we were waiting to go on. What are we seeing from President's Cup here in the early stages?
You know, right now, it's kind of a little bit of what we expected. It's U.S. looking pretty good early on, although there's showing some fight from this international team. I think right now, 2 ties, Finau, Schauffele tied up with Day and On, which is the I really like what Mike Weir did here with a lot of the teams. At first, I kind of thought they were a little bit lopsided, but when you look at Day and Benny On, you got 2 guys there, two Australian guys, another Australian group with Minwoo Lee, Scott. Like Scott's the wily veteran. You have Minwoo, who's electric off the tee. Sung Jae Im, Tom Kim. That's the South Korean team. They're down right now to Russell Henley and Scotty Scheffler, but they've been able to put up a pretty good fight there. Keegan Bradley, Wyndham Clark against Bezuidenhout and Pendrith. They are currently down 1, but it looks like Pendrith just birdied, so might be able to tie that one up.
Okay.
And actually, Corey Connors and Hideki Matsuyama going up against Burns and Cantley. This might be the group that has like the most firepower between the two. Corey Connors just nailed a birdie putt to take that lead through 1. So a little bit closer maybe early on than what we saw, but certainly I think when you look at just the way that this U.S. team is finding fairways right now, if that trend continues, that could be very, very bad news for the internationals, because this is not a tricky golf course unless you start finding rough areas of the golf course. If you can find fairways, you can score pretty well here. And that's what has been the case early on for Team US, not so much the same for Team International.
Of course, as always, on the Lock Shop, you can text us anytime. That'll get you to the EST inbox at 780-218-9999. Nasty chat's always hopping during the Lock Shop as well. If you have any fantasy questions, we can definitely get to those. Big Maple is in and says, Sanjay Im doing the Gangnam Style dance was legendary. I'm going to have to check this out. I do have a lot of time for people who are still doing the Gangnam Style dance in 2024, right, Patty? Like, God, was that a sensation?
It certainly was. I imagine he's probably still an icon in South Korea. I know I've seen some TikToks where they've showed his concerts from, it was a few years ago, definitely not during his heyday, but definitely not within the last couple of years, but looked like it was absolutely like the guy still knows how to put on a show. So basically what it was yesterday at one of the practice rounds, Gangnam Style came on the speakers, and you could see he's getting kind of riled.
Oh yeah, I'm watching it.
Of his teammates. It's good stuff. It's real good stuff. So you know what? That's one thing that I think Team International they need to show some personality. They need to get this crowd into it. We've seen it in Ryder Cups. We've seen it in President's Cup. Like if you can get the crowd rocking, if you can get them on your side and start to rattle the other side, it's gonna go a long way. And I think this international group, I don't want to say needs to be perfect because it's impossible to be perfect in the game of golf, but a lot of things need to go their way. A hot start would be one of them. I think I heard it was like 7 of the last 8 years. Team USA has won day one of the President's Cup. They've also dominated this in the last little while as well. So a hot start is so important. If this Team International team wants to keep this thing close and have a chance of winning on Sunday, I think day one, maybe not necessarily a victory on day one, but at least keeping it tight and getting some points would be huge.
Yeah, if they could pick up a couple today, I mean that would be huge. Sungjae sure was having fun. Like just watching it, he like the smile on his face while he's doing it is just, that's a great video.
It's awesome. It's all time stuff. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of like the goofy guy on this international team, they think of Tom Kim, and for good reason. The guy is a riot. He's an electric personality. He's a funny guy. Loves, just doesn't take much too seriously. But there's some flavor and there is some personality to the other Koreans on this team as well, with Benny On and of course Sung Jae-im. So I hope they come out of their shell a little more. I certainly think Min-Woo Lee, I know he's Australian, but he's been tight with these guys as well. He does have some Korean heritage. So he's been hanging out with those three guys as well. I think if Min-Woo Lee can play well this week, I think he's going to be a fan favorite as well. Don't know if you saw his reel or his TikTok he released yesterday. Showed off that he's got a mullet going, and it's INT on the side.
Nice.
So he's all ready to go for Team International.
That's great. I do peruse TikTok every once in a while, but I don't like have an account and I don't like follow people. I just get on there and aimlessly scroll. And then the algorithm takes me down deep, dark places where like, I'm trying to think what's been on my TikTok recently. I always have a lot of like lions and other animals killing other animals. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm fascinated by the safari, so there's a lot of that. Polar bears trying to hunt seals. Today I popped on TikTok briefly and it was like a cougar lion killing a penguin. Like there's a bunch of weird stuff on my TikTok. I've got that, a bunch of like LeBron versus MJ stuff pops up. But outside of that, I guess most of my TikTok is just animals killing other animals. That's it. That's all I use TikTok for. So it's nice because then I don't have to go online and search that stuff out myself. So it works out. It works out okay.
Yeah, that TikTok is a wild place, man. I feel like sometimes if you watch one video for more than 10 seconds, your algorithm's absolutely just flipped on its head and it's just stuffed in your face. So
yeah, when I
it's
first
a wild place. It's a wild place.
It's funny because before I had the algorithm, like when I first logged on, it was just all girls doing dances. And I was just like, this is all TikTok is. And then I watched like one animal video killing another animal. And then it's like, okay. And then I've got killer whales attacking seals with waves and knocking them off. I like it now. It's pretty fun. It's a good time for a little bit.
It's certainly a way that you can kill time. You can definitely get lost in a dark
how
hole.
often are you like, you're sitting there like, oh, I'll go on TikTok for 5 minutes. And then it's an hour later. And like, I totally wasted a huge chunk of my day. Like it just, it sucks. But anyway, actually, you know what else is on? A lot of fantasy content on my TikTok too. A lot of fantasy football content on the TikTok. So that's nice. The chat.
You know what came across my TikTok feed the other day? And
I would bet poker.
It's old.
Was it poker?
It wasn't poker. It was fanny picks. Fanny picks came up.
Did it come across the? Oh, nice. It did. Man, I've never popped up on the algorithm before. Like that would be something. I'll have a new fanny picks locked and loaded tomorrow for the boys.
Love that.
Yeah, I like fanny picks. That was a lot of fun. We spun the wheel today. We spun the desk wheel today for an anytime touchdown score tonight. And to be honest with you, it's a real nice pick. Devin Singletary, -120 was what the wheel spun tonight for an anytime touchdown score. So if you missed it on the Nielsen show this morning, we did take, Jake was on this morning, laid it out nicely. I haven't checked to see if it's up yet, but we went Singletary touchdown, which I think is possible against Dallas. We'll have a whole Cowboys conversation coming up here. If we have any Cowboys fans listening on TuneIn or iHeart at EdmontonSportsTalk.com or in the nasty chat, the question I have is like, what happens if the Cowboys lose tonight? So we'll get to that in a second. But it was Devin Singletary, Cowboys money line, and the over 39.5, I believe, in this game tonight. I think that's a real nice little 3-play parlay. I think that's solid.
Yeah, I really like it. And hey, Lieutenant Eric, he's the one who brought up the great point about the fact that yes, everyone's really high on this Cowboys team, not them in the whole, but in this game, because Jake laid out a bunch of great trends about just like how Dak Prescott owns this Giants team and how the Giants have struggled so much against this team and how the Cowboys absolutely need this game. But, if you're not looking to just be fully invested in the Cowboys, because that can be a very, very scary, scary thought, I think there are some props that you can look into, and that one there being the Devin Singletary touchdown. So I really like that you guys brought that up. I'm stoked that the desk wheel landed.
The wheel came through.
I don't want to have too many Giants props, because I do think that this is a get right spot for the Cowboys, or at least a spot where they can feel a little more confident with themselves. But if there is something, I think it's Singletary on the ground. Maybe it's Danny Dimes on the ground, or as the wheel chose for us, because it could have landed on anyone, Dusty.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I wanted to say. Like, there's 14 spots on this wheel, so we were in pretty deep on the anytime touchdown scores, and it gave us Devin Singletary, who is got the second best odds behind CeeDee Lamb, is at -137. This board very well could have come around to Tyrone Tracy Jr. or Theo Johnson, but it didn't. It gave us Devin Singletary. So the board is, what do we say? The board is true.
Yeah, the wheel is just.
The wheel is just. What did I say? The board is true. The wheel.
Well, the board is true. The wheel probably picked the best or the second best option on the board. So the board is true and the wheel is just.
Yeah, that's too good. I think it's terrific. Okay, so we'll get into a bunch of player props. If you got player props that you like tonight, fire those over as well. If you have any fantasy football questions for the week, you can fire those in as well. 5.5 is the line. I thought Jake did a great job. I don't want to give Jake too many props here, because I know he's watching right now.
Smokes.
But I thought he did a great job today, I guess, reading numbers that somebody else put together. But still, it was very impressive, the amount of dominance Dak Prescott has had. Oh my God, Ice Cube just walked into the room from All Gas No Breaks. It's Ice Cube, everybody. You give me a heads up. You're walking in. I'm starstruck right now. Starstruck by the Cube. Anyway, the Cowboys and Dak have destroyed the Giants. And we said this morning, like the last two have been by 72. The Cowboys aren't just supposed to win this game. Like, the Cowboys are supposed to blow out the Giants tonight, are they not?
They are, and he also brought up a great point. This is what the Cowboys do, not just against the Giants, but against bad teams. 32-14-2 against the spread against teams under 500. He is a covering machine. Dak Prescott is a covering machine. When he faces a bad NFC opponent, 14-3 against the spread, covering by almost a full 9.5 points. So I won't go over too many trends. If you want those, I did lay out a couple there, but go back, listen to today's episode. Even if you don't want the trends, go back and listen to the Nielsen show. If you've already listened to it, listen to it again. Okay, we need the views. Get them going.
Exactly. Let's go. Let's do it.
Like the video. But 29-11 against the spread. 32-8 straight up. Like, that's just insane. He's dominated against this division. He's dominated against bad teams, and they need this win. You said, like, what happens?
What does happen if they lose? Like, is there a coach going to be fired or something?
Yeah, 100%. I think
so.
Mike McCarthy gets fired, and I think, crazy to say, I think the way that Jerry Jones operates, it's going to be a big splash, and I would not be surprised if Bill Belichick is coaching this team. Like, I don't know.
I was not ready for this. I was not ready for this.
I know it's hot take season. I know, but I really don't think that Jerry Jones really strikes me as the guy that let's just hire internally. Let's just take the offensive coordinator and bring him as the head coach. Let's not just, hire the defensive coordinator, whatever it may. Like, Jerry Jones, look at his stadium. Look at everything that he does. He does it big, and he does it. He likes being in the headlines. That's the big thing there. And I think it's I don't know if it's well documented that Bill Belichick would take this job, but man, anytime you hear him, whether he's on Pat McAfee's show or any of his TV hits, he's always talking about how this Cowboys team is loaded with talent and how they aren't able to figure out ways to win or get it done in the playoffs. And Dak Prescott is supremely underrated, and he's got so many great targets, and the defense is great. He's putting his resume out there on television. That's what he's doing. He's basically saying Mike McCarthy's a dummy. His staff stinks, and if you had me as the coach, I'd turn this team around. That's exactly what he's doing every time Pat McAfee brings him on and the Cowboys get brought up. Kudos to him. And is that the right hire? I don't know if it's the right hire. I don't know if even bringing in Bill Belichick at all, but never mind, a quarter way through the season is the way to do it. But Jerry Jones doesn't really listen to the outside noise. Jerry does what Jerry wants, and I can see that totally being a Jerry Jones move.
Don't you? And I don't have the list of highest paid NFL coaches in front of me. And I know it's crazy because he's old. But that's kind of like if they come out tonight and lose 30-14 to the Giants, and it seems like for at least a 3 to 4 week stretch since the moment he was hired, every single season we have like a month when we're talking about McCarthy being fired. If this actually goes down, is this not almost like a blank check situation to Bill Belichick? That's what it feels like to me.
It certainly is. He has no problem getting the checkbooks out when he wants to. I think there's a reason maybe why he was penny pinching some of his players during these contract negotiations when it comes to CeeDee Lamb. And I know Dak Prescott, the contract situation there. He's only paying, which I just pulled this up, the lowest paid coaches as of last year. Believe it or not, Mike McCarthy he's near the bottom, only getting paid $4 million. The highest paid, you were wondering who it would be?
Yeah.
Pulling it up here. Last year, Bill Belichick, $20 million.
Okay, so he's not taking a pay cut.
He's not taking a haircut. No way is he taking a haircut to go down to Texas, play for America's team, be under that microscope, turn that thing around. He is not taking a cent under what market value would be for him. So I think it looks like Jake's agreeing with me in the chat. He says if they lose tonight, it's Belichick time, and it's hard. It's hard not to. It sounds so fantasy land, like it sounds so hot takey, but that's Jerry Jones, man. That's what he wants. That's what he does. There's no way he does something small. It's going to be big, and there's nothing bigger right now out in the market than Billy B.
All right. You can hit us up, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Over in the nasty chat as well. I did say, Lars is over there, says it's time to dump McCarthy anyway. Well overdue. I did say you could text us if you have any fantasy questions. And I had a couple of those pop in. One relates to the game here. Here's Jason the Acadian says, hey guys, Cowboy fan here. I was apprehensive going into this season, and I'll cheer them on, but it's not their year regardless of this game. So, Cowboys fans not super stoked. This text came in from a buddy, and this is... I replied to him immediately. I said, what are you, in a 6-team league? He's asking me if he should start Josh Allen or Dak Prescott this week. And I was just like, how is this possible? Anyway, I did say, so Dak versus the Giants, who he torches, or Josh Allen versus the Ravens, I believe, right? Bills, Ravens. So I told him Dak. I think I'd probably start Dak this week, but every other week it's a Josh Allen call. I mean, he's a stud, but I think Dak could go off tonight. So,
I mean, you know me, I'm a big Josh Allen guy. I think that's going to be an incredibly difficult game for the Bills, for Josh Allen. It's really hard not to think, and we laid it out. Jake laid it out. He cooks the Giants. This might be a situation where you're kicking yourself in the ass after this, but I think you got to go with Dak and put Allen on the bench, which is probably the only time you're going to do this all season long.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I literally said, I'd start Dak this week due to matchups, but Josh Allen otherwise is always a must start. It's just how it is. I mean, I can't believe I'm even giving advice to not start Josh Allen, but with Dak's history against the Giants, man, it's sitting right out there. Spency 5 cents, he says, guys, would you start Anthony Richardson or Derek Carr this week? Carr is in Atlanta against the Falcons. Who the Colts have this week?
The Colts
Steelers
are up against Steelers. Yeah. I think I'd go Carr.
I'd go Carr there. Yeah,
it's a bounce back Carr game. I know the Falcons defense has looked pretty good and their secondary has impressed, but do we really think that those first two games for the Saints were just an anomaly, that they're playing bad defenses? They put up a ton of points, and what we saw from the Eagles is more. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think they're putting up 40 points this week against Atlanta, but I also don't think they're going to be, held to just outside of double digits, right? Like, yeah. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So I would go Carr. That Steelers defense scares the living daylights out of me.
It looks like the real deal.
And especially with Richardson, man, like, I don't know if I really love him in the red zone with Watt out there putting pressure on him. Like, I could see some really silly mistakes from Richardson coming down the stretch. So I would certainly lean Carr.
Let me just bring up the Fantasy Pros consensus week 4 QB rankings. I was in that league where all those guys screwed me over. I just traded CJ Stroud because I've got Jaden Daniels and Anthony Richardson. So I was like, you know what? I'll be able to make hay with those two guys. So I traded CJ Stroud to a guy who's a Texans fan in that league, and I gave up a first and third next year because I'm boycotting the draft next year anyway. And I got Derrick Henry, and I got Travis Kelce, and I think Kelsey's a decent buy low at this point. Travis Kelce's not washed here, is he, Pat? Like, there's no way.
No.
I know he's not what he was 5 years ago, but there's no way he's washed right now.
He's not washed. It's early on in the season. He is getting older. He's getting longer in the tooth, but just wait. There's going to be a big game. It's probably going to be against the Bills. It's probably going to be against a big opponent, and he's going to come to life, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's still got some football left in him.
All right, so here are I'll give you the top 12 quarterback rankings, a consensus of 33 fantasy football experts over at Fantasy Pros. If you haven't checked out Fantasy Pros yet, pretty good site. I don't know if I'm paying for the bonus, like the premium, or not. These damn things you set up on your credit card and you subscribe. And then I'm like, I don't know if I'm a premium member here or what. Anyway, here's the top 12. This is for week 4. All right. Let me just. It should be standard scoring. Yeah. So this would be 6 touchdown league. Kyler Murray's number 1. Josh Allen is number 2. Lamar is number 3. Jalen Hurts is 4. Jaden Daniels is 5. CJ Stroud is 6. Joe Burrow is 7. Dak Prescott is 8. We said we like Dak over Josh. But yeah, they've got this. I mean, this is I still stick with Dak. I think Dak outscores Josh Allen this week. Then you've got Mahomes at 9, and he's done nothing in fantasy so far this year.
No.
They have Justin Fields in 10th against Indy. Surprises me a bit. Then Brock Purdy, then Anthony Richardson, then Goff, Smith, Sammy Darts, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, then Derek Carr. So I don't know. I still think I like Carr over Richardson with those matchups. I don't want to start many quarterbacks against the Steelers defense, especially an inexperienced one. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't at all. Go back to talking about the whole Dak thing, and not to make this the Dak hour, but like just looking at his props, it's set at 258.5 passing yards. His touchdowns over 1.5 is all the way juiced to minus 150. So obviously looks like he's going to get at least 2. And when you look at the team total for this Cowboys team, it's, 25 is minus 115, 25.5 is minus 122. So somewhere around that 20, 25, 24 mark is where it's projected. I think it's going to be higher. I actually really like Cowboys over team total. The total tonight is 45. Like, it wouldn't be surprising me if the Cowboys do most of that work themselves.
Yeah.
So just looking at, when you take all that into account, it's lead, and you look at the historic numbers, Prescott should be having a huge night, and he should be higher than 8th in fantasy, especially considering some of those quarterbacks that you laid out there are going up against some really good defenses too.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, I think we stick with what we said earlier. A couple more fantasy questions actually rolling in. This one from Brock says, Dusty, is Tyreek a bench guy until Tua comes back? I've got Jaden Reed on my bench, and I'm thinking of going with him over Hill if Love is back this week. If Love is not back, you're sticking with Tyreek Hill. If Jordan Love is back, and I know it's trending in the right direction, and you got a pretty tough decision on your hands here. But Tyreek Hill has done nothing with Skylar Thompson. Like, nothing. But I also don't want to sit here and say Tyreek Hill has only ever been a product of Patrick Mahomes and Tua. Like, he's better than that. So I might still lean going Tyreek Hill this week against Tennessee. Jaden Reed in Green Bay, even if Love's back, they get Minnesota. I think I'd probably still slightly lean towards Tyreek Hill, but any thoughts on this one, Patty?
I think you have to go with Tyreek Hill, at least for another week. It's not like they're going up against a really good team. They're going up against the Titans. And let's be honest, like, Mike McDaniel, like, we hear him being this offensive guru. Look what he was able to do. Whether, Tua, I get it. That's a big part of it. But, like, if you really are this offensive mastermind, and if you really have this, all-world offense, and you can scheme things up, you should be able to scheme something up to at least allow Tyreek Hill, to use his athleticism and speed and get open in space, create some more screen passes, little checkdowns where he gets the ball, and then it's just his athleticism that takes over. There's got to be an opportunity there for him to do this, because you're totally right. Of course, he has had some very good quarterbacks throwing him the ball before, but is it really worth it? Because there is a damn good chance that even if Hill doesn't have an outstanding game, there is a good chance, just with how good he is, how fast he is, how athletic he is, he could pull off 1 or 2 runs where he breaks it off for 40, breaks off a 60-yard touchdown, something like that. And you mentioned it. They're going up against Minnesota. That's the Packers are. Yeah. That's an in-division matchup. The Vikings have looked damn good this year. I think you roll with Tyreek at least maybe one more week. They got the Patriots the following week after that. Maybe you think about making that switch now, but against a weak Titans team, I think you got to give him a big enough leash for at least one more start this week.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can hit us up over in the Nasty Chat as well. A couple more quick ones on fantasy. We haven't even got to our best bets from a prop perspective for this game tonight, so we'll definitely get into that. We got some CFL picks coming your way as well. Huss has texted his over. We'll pass those along. Rick Foon says Rashad White with no Bucky Irving versus Ramondre. You know what? I might actually ride with Rashad White one last time if there's no Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving, I was just looking it up. Strained his hamstring a little bit in their last game, and this is tough because he was trending in the right direction. He was a sexy pick on the waiver wire the last couple of weeks, and then he did not practice today. So if Bucky Irving is out, I would go Rashad White probably one more time against Ramondre Stevenson. If Bucky does play, then that's definitely a no on that one. And Mark is saying Rico Dowdle, who's playing tonight, or Rashad White. And I'd probably go with Rico tonight. He's started to take over a little bit more of that backfield. So there's a couple more on the fantasy perspective.
And just on that note, too, the Patriots are playing the 49ers
they are
in San Francisco. Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't Stevenson get game scripted out of that one, Patty?
100% he does. He absolutely does. I think they load the box. I think they do everything in their power, for him not to be able to run all. Look what the Jets did against him a couple weeks ago. They completely neutralized him. He wasn't able to do anything. And he was the hottest running back, or I guess it was last week. It was one of the primetime games. It was a Thursday nighter, I think. They took him completely out of the game. He wasn't able to do anything. And through the first two games, I think he had the most yards after contact by a running back. He was electric, and they took him out of the way completely.
All right. What about props for tonight? We got to build a little player prop parlay here, I would think, for sure. What do you like this evening, buddy?
There's a few things I like. Obviously, the over 3.5 field goals is a no-brainer. You can see, despite it starting to come back to level here, it's 6-4 overall. But it's only, I believe, even money, or just plus money, plus 100 actually, now that I look at it. So it's plus 100, considering weeks ago we were getting at plus 130, plus 140. I think this here is just a Brandon Aubrey factor. He is a field goal factory this year, averaging 3.3 field goals per game. And then even last year, he was averaging 2.1. So he has been a kicking machine. I think he carries the majority of the water here. I think the Giants realize, though, points might come at a premium early on. Wouldn't be surprised if we see them, try to go for some field goals early and often. So that's an auto bet, but I actually also like this prop, not just because it is a principle of the lock shop. Daniel Jones, over half a reception, minus 115. And I know we spent a lot of time about how good Dak is and how great he is and how much he owns this Giants team. Well, you could say the complete opposite of Daniel Jones. A big reason why Dak has a lot of these wins against the Giants is also because Jones has been a nightmare against Dallas.
Yeah.
He's 1-7 with a 4-5 TD interception ratio and a just under 60% completion rate, 58.8. And 24 sacks against. He's thrown at least one interception in his last 4 games at home against the Cowboys as well. So I do know they're going to probably limit him throwing the ball as much as possible, but that can only happen early and on. Often they're going to run the ball with Singletary. They're going to have some design runs for Jones, but if Dallas gets out and starts to build the lead, they have no choice but to throw the ball.
They have to throw.
You have to throw the ball. And when Daniel Jones throws the ball, a lot of the time it ends up in the opponent's arms. So I'm taking it. I'm shocked it's only minus 115. There is a combo card called Double Trouble for both quarterbacks to throw an interception. I know we've been giving Dak a lot of praise. Even when he plays really well, he's sometimes good for a boneheaded throw that goes the other way. So I really like the interception. I'd consider sprinkling that combo card as well. The last prop that I really like, there's a lot, but these are like my 3 favorites. Jake Ferguson, over 4.5 receptions. You're getting that at plus money right now. The one thing that you can say the Giants have done pretty well, especially defensively this year, is generating pressure on the quarterback. So I think Dak is going to have to rely on a lot of dip and dunks and check downs. And something we've noticed last game, especially, it was the only game that we really saw Ferguson get involved, but he was that comfort blanket, really quick passes. McCarthy got him involved early and often, and it ended up, I know they don't end up winning the game, but a big reason why they were able to come back into that game and a reason why Dak had some success last game was because of Ferguson. He was pretty bad in week 1. Or week 2, I guess it would have been. He had 6 receptions on 11 targets for 95 yards. So it was a coming out party for him. I think that continues this week. So give me the over 4.5 receptions for Fergie.
All right, I got a couple here. Wan'Dale Robinson is sitting at 4.5 catches. He's been targeted 24 times in the 3 games this year, 12 targets last game. Daniel Jones, I think, only throws the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson or Neighbors. I mean, that's it. That's basically what you're looking at here. So I'm buying into what you're selling on the script of how this game is going to end up going. And for that reason, and if we're putting them on in a parlay, we can, because the number on Neighbors right now is 70.5 receiving yards. I think I like that more than the 6.5 catches for him. So I like the Neighbors over 70.5 receiving yards. I like Robinson over 4.5 catches as well. I did have the Daniel Jones interception at, I see it right now at -118. Thought about sprinkling even. The Cowboys bring pressure, I think, 29% of the time on dropbacks. And if that happens anywhere near the end zone, there's an RPO option here for Jones to just grab it and take it himself. That's plus 250. I think from a touchdown score perspective, there's decent value on Jones at plus 250. Not comfortable throwing it into a little parlay that we're building here. So I like your Ferguson play as well. But I think my 3 favorite ones were the Jones interception, the Neighbors over 70.5, and maybe we drop that down to 64.5 or something in a parlay, and then the over 4.5 catches for Wan'Dale Robinson. If you want to chime in on this, you can hit us up in the nasty chat. Big Maple says Neighbors over on receiving yards and a Neighbors anytime touchdown. That's what he's in on as well. Dustin Nielson says Neighbors over 60, Ferguson over 25 yards, a passing touchdown for Dak, and Jones 5 rushing, and over Jones 5 rushing attempts. Now, do we put the Jones INT in the parlay? There's always something special about cheering for an interception in a parlay, buddy. I do really like that idea.
I've got him in my primetime parlay.
Oh, you do, hey?
I'm okay with sharing the wealth. My primetime parlay, DeMarcus Lawrence 1+ sack, Daniel Jones 1+ interception, and over 3.5 field goals at plus 700. So that one was a no-brainer for me, especially at plus 700. I think the fellas gave us a really nice number for that one. I really like your Wan'Dale Robinson play. That was on my card. That was my 4th favorite one. Don't get me wrong, Neighbors is dynamic. I think he probably gets over his yards. His 6.5 number is crazy. That's the exact
a little
same
too high,
number.
I think. Yeah.
Like that. I don't know if Jones gets more than like 14 completions. Like, is he going to get half of them? Maybe, but I think Robinson, because Neighbors is going to be double covered, they're going to have a lot of attention on him. He's going to get the number 1 matchup. I think Wan'Dale has an opportunity to eat a little bit here. So I think we got to include Robinson in there. We could add the interception in there as well. And I like the Jones rushing yards. I said it in the chat today during EST, during your Nielsen show, and I almost got laughed out of the chat, but I really like it. I think he's going to be running for his life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I went back and looked. Like last week, Neighbors was targeted 12 times. Robinson was targeted 8 times last week. So they were targeted 20 times. Singletary out of the backfield 4, Tyrone Tracy Jr. 4, Darius Slayton was targeted twice, and then his tight ends between Johnson and Bellinger were targeted 4 times. So Neighbors and Robinson took home 20 of the targets. The rest of the team combined had, 5, 7, 10, 12. So like the majority of the balls that are coming out of his hands are ending up at least in the direction of Neighbors. Let me see what happened in the loss of the Commanders, just target wise. I'm just curious to see how much he's actually. So in that game, that was the game where Neighbors was targeted 18 times. Robinson was targeted 4 times, Slayton 4 times, and Singletary once. So in that game, Neighbors was targeted 18 times. Everybody else was targeted half as much, 9 times. And in their game against the Vikings, which also would have been a little bit of a throwing script because he attempted 42 passes in this one. This should be good. So let's see. Neighbors was targeted 7 times, and Robinson was targeted 12 times. And nobody else was more than 4 or 5. Like the ball is only going to these 2 guys. So that's why I'm pretty comfortable with the Robinson over 4.5 and Neighbors over 70.5 yards. And then what else you want to throw in there, do you think? Or we could just go Robinson and something else if we don't want to mix in Neighbors at all. I feel like feel like there's got to be a little bit of Neighbors mixed in here, but
Yeah, maybe we tease down the Neighbors yards number.
yeah, I like that.
Tease it down a bit.
What do you want to go to 64.5?
64.5.
Yeah, so 65 or more. So 64.5 on Neighbors, over 4.5 catches for Robinson. And then what else are we doing? Do you want to mix in something from Dallas, the Ferguson number that you had? We could go Jones INT anyway, but
I think we play the Jones interception as a solo play.
yeah, it's a decent enough value.
If you're riding with the Patty's parlay, that will be in there. I like the Jake Ferguson reception, especially that we're getting plus money on it. We could get it down to 3.5.
Yeah.
But I really think that Ferguson gets involved early and often, especially considering the way the game script looks like. That might be maybe one way that the Giants can generate a little bit of pressure. So that would be my suggestion.
Well, let's move that to 3.5. So let's go Ferguson 3.5, Robinson 4.5, and Neighbors 64.5.
Love it.
And we'll Absolutely. Take the over on that. And then in a perfect world, Danny Dimes cashes these two for us, also throws the interception, and we have it on our own. I think that's something that could work as well. The combo cards over at coolbet.com. If you have not checked it out, we got a couple EST ones sitting there right now for you. We had the EST early bird parlay, which we actually need the Cowboys on tonight to keep that alive heading into the weekend. That was a simple one. Cowboys,
that's right.
Rams, Lions, all on the money line. That's plus 448. And then the EST random wheel, our online random wheel from yesterday, Rams plus 2.5, Packers money line, Dolphins money line at plus 637. Have that other one that'll be popping up here a little bit later on as well. That'll be in the exclusives, I would think. It's probably already up. Nope, Patty's prime time's up there. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah,
it's
so
there, down there.
Yeah, Devin Singletary, Dallas Cowboys to win, and over 39.5 points, plus 325. So tidy little number there it's a good number considering it's highly likely that all three of those hit. Okay, anything else? Go ahead.
Did you happen to see the not their year parlay that we created yesterday for the Philadelphia Flyers to miss the playoffs?
Oh, I didn't see that. I remember we went over that. Yeah.
And the Calgary Flames all missed playoffs, boosted from 179 up to 206.
Beautiful.
Really like that one.
It's in the chat earlier. We're going to transition to some CFL picks here in just a second too. But in the chat earlier, where is it? Yeah, here we are. Jake in the chat earlier says, hey, how about this message from one of our Coolbet bookies with less than a week until the NHL Future Show? Added a couple hundred goals/point totals for NHL. Let me know if you want anyone else. I was thinking maybe next Tuesday and Wednesday are NHL Future Shows.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Might have
Wednesday,
to do it.
I don't think the golf, it'd probably be, there is a tournament. I forget which one it is. We could maybe throw our picks in at the end of the show. But I definitely think two full days of futures. Maybe we do one day, kind of sink our teeth into player totals.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other one, we kind of then can look at awards, teams. Yeah. That type of thing.
Man, he's not kidding. Like they went deep. Like I'm looking at point total prop for Essa Lindell, which I'm not sure was necessary or will be bet at all. But it's there. It's there if you want it, which is pretty impressive. That's here's a Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner, 57.5 points. Oh, interesting.
I just found one that I know Huss is going to be on.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
PL Dubois, under 60 points.
Oh, under 60 points for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Huss is going to move that line on his own.
Yeah, it's going to be down. They're going to bet it all the way down to like under 25. And people in Winnipeg still will be betting.
Yeah, Winnipeg is just going to, that's going to be the end of Coolbet. That one's going to be, Winnipeg is going to end Coolbet with that one. Shout out Ev Dog for getting all this done. Ev Dog, you're a sick puppy, but we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for that Essa Lindell player prop we were hoping to get. That's terrific. All right. Let's see here. What's this? Rod Zawacki, who is Rod Z. He's got two different accounts, I think. Or imagine if there was two Rods with a Z at the end. Anyway, he says, over at Coolbet, big bet if the Nasties want it. Rico Dowdle over 13.5. That would be receiving yards, I'm assuming. That's not going to be his rush yards total. I was going to take a quick peek at that just to confirm. I don't want to give any false information because his rush yards would be 41.5. So yeah, that would be receiving yards. So if you want to get that, that's on Rico Dowdle. Now, usually you're not on for a CFL show. I mean, most of the season I'm not on for the CFL show. It's usually Huss and Maddie Awanek. I do have Hustler CFL picks. I know you said you're going to try to dive into it a little bit, Patty. So what are you looking at on this CFL board this week?
Well, I know I'm on Edmonton Sports Talk, and this isn't a pander pick, but maybe it is a bit of a pander pick. But I brought some numbers to back why I think I'm actually going to ride with the Elks to cover the number here. The Elks are actually 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 games, and 6-1 ATS in their last 7 road games. The quarterback uncertainty kind of scares me, and Matt has me on Trey Time. I think he is the quarterback for the future, but the way that the CFL is, that sometimes there's a quarterback that actually just fits the game plan better. And I think MBT playing this game actually makes more sense for him to play. So I think if you go MBT here, I don't know if they win. I think Winnipeg probably wins this game. But I think they cover the number, and it's going to be a closer game than what the book has it. So give me the Elks covering the spread. I
highly doubt the Elks are going to turn the ball over 6 times again. And maybe they do. Exactly. I mean, I said the same thing when Calgary threw 4 interceptions. The next game, I was like, there's no way they do that again. And I guess I was kind of correct because they threw 5 interceptions the next week. So that's a little bit, but I just don't see. Edmonton was very good with the football the entire season. 17 turnovers the whole season. It's crazy. Going into that game last week, turned the ball over 6 times, had turned the ball over, I believe, 5 times, 4 times maybe, going into the fourth quarter, and it was still tied at 10. So if they look after the football, and I understand Princess Auto Stadium it'll be raucous. I know it's sold out again. That's what they do in Winnipeg. But I don't see MBT being rattled by a crowd. He's been around the league for a long time. Like I think he'll probably be okay. So I am with you on the Elks at 5 points. Now let's get to the text from Huss. Because did he send all of them to the lock shop? Oh no, he sent them just to me. CFL picks. Bombers, Elks. And he only does this because he's not here. I know he would never do it otherwise. But Huss is on the Elks +5. So I don't think I've seen him on this show live pick against the Bombers all year. But he's on the Elks +5. So that's definitely on the parlay. I mean, all of us are on the Elks +5. We'll have to throw that on there. If you're listening right now, we will be doing a watch party for this game tomorrow night. As many members of the EST crew as we can get out there will be at Century Casino, Sports Bar and Lounge. Reed and Jay will be doing their show from 3 to 5. Then we'll have the Green and Gold kickoff show with Maddie and Jay from 5 until 6. Then we'll sit around. We'll have some drinks. Might hit the tables a little bit, play some roulette. I don't know. And then we'll have the post-game show after, but we'll be watching the game there. Okay, Ticats, Lions. I'm on the Ticats here +7. They've been playing pretty good football as of late. BC, I still think should be better from a roster perspective than what they've been so far this year. I know this is a big game for the Lions. I do think the Lions are going to win it in the end, but the Ticats have been playing too well. Their defense has been better since Chris Jones took over. I got to be on the Ticats on the road here +7. That's a big number in any league, especially this one this year.
Yeah, it's too big. I wish I had the numbers in front of me of what the cover rate is for over 6 points. Like if you're covering for a touchdown, it's got to be the Dogs are covering. Hamilton 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games. I think I would lean Hamilton to cover, but the one I really like the most is over 53.5. I know you mentioned that Hamilton's defense has been playing better. But their offense has been dynamic. Bo Levi Mitchell putting himself into the conversation for MOP. And BC has done a fine job scoring the ball as well. So over 53.5 would be my best bet here. But in terms of the parlay, I think I agree with you.
You're okay with the Ticats side.
Covered.
And Huss is on Hamilton +7 as well. That one doesn't surprise me. So he's on Hamilton +7. I'm on Hamilton +7. You're okay with that in the parlay. So Edmonton +5 in the parlay. Hamilton +7 on the parlay. That 53.5 is one of the higher. I don't know if we've seen many totals higher than 53.5 this year.
They haven't.
Yeah, that's a high total.
That just shows
really high
total.
They're expecting a high scoring game.
Exactly. So I tend to agree with that. So I'm probably going to play that individually, but yeah, let's go with the spread for the part. Do we want to go 7.5 to keep?
Yeah. Let's just put it at 7.5. I feel comfortable with that. Yeah, definitely. So we'll go that to 7.5, and then Ottawa and the Riders. I got the Riders earlier in the week at 2.5. It's now at 3.5. Huss said his picks over earlier this morning. He's got the Riders -3. Could we move this to 2.5? Could we take the Riders back to the 2.5?
I would certainly. This one was quote unquote stay away for me at the 3, because I could certainly see this coming down to a game that is by a field goal, or because it's a CFL, a 1 or 2 point score game. So if you can get it to 2.5, that would certainly feel a lot more comfortable, or maybe even money line, since we are putting it into a parlay. So
I like that.
Red Blacks has struggled on the road. So and we know Saskatchewan plays well at home. So I think either money line or -2.5. I think that's a little safer of a play.
I like it. I think the money line plays real nice. So, and I don't know. So Huss is on Toronto +2. I'm on the Alouettes -2. So we're not seeing eye to eye there. Any thoughts on that one quickly?
Toronto's tough to beat at home.
Yeah,
15-3 straight up in their last 18 games. So I would lean the +2. But again, this one is not really a huge play. Another thing of note as well, the total's gone over in 13 of the last 18 games at BMO Field.
And it's at 51.5 between the Alouettes and the Argos. So if we go, and this is what I put in, I've got the Ticats at 7 right now. We'll move that to 7.5. The Riders money line and the Elks +5. That's +418. Before a boost and obviously a little tweak to the Ticats moving from 7 to 7.5. But I like that. I think that came together nicely. I think Huss would approve.
I think he would prove indeed. I haven't heard from Huss. You got the picks. I saw he retweeted one of ours.
Yeah.
I haven't got an update from the course yet. I'm worried he hasn't made it to the course yet, because I hear the traffic is brutal, and also we know Montreal.
It's Montreal. I was just gonna say Montreal. I took a buddy out there one time on his own. It's just him and I went out for the Riders game for his stag. We were there for 2 nights. The one full day we were there, he was so banged up from the night before, he slept the entire day. Didn't go out of the room till 7 p.m. So it's Montreal, man. It's I wouldn't be surprised if, let's be honest with you, I wouldn't even be disappointed in him if he totally was out for a day, had to recover. So well done, Huss.
It looked like he, with the Pat Mayo experience boys, looks like he was out at some fine dining last night. Something tells me the evening didn't end at that fine dining establishment. I know Huss is as Winnipeg as it comes through and through. He is. He's the face of Winnipeg. But with that being said, I think he's going to, and I know he's been there before. I think Huss could have a good time in Montreal.
You can go online and do every province and do an AI generated person. And so you would go BC and AI generated, and AI generated Sask, AI generated. It's a farmer with a wheat or whatever. And then it goes to Manitoba, AI generated. It's not generated, it's just a picture of Huss. That's it. It's just Huss being what's up?
Yeah.
I think that works out well. So that CFL parlay, that'll be up as a combo card as well. It's +418 before any sort of boost from our partners over at Coolbet. We'll dive into full NFL Week 4 best bets tomorrow with myself, Pat, and Jake. Looking forward to that, man. Sorry we didn't have time for the Blue Jays today. We'll have to get to it at some other point.
Darn, maybe we can talk about it tomorrow with Jake.
Yeah,
probably not.
Probably not. We got 2 guys in the goalie coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, stick around. We'll be right back up at noon. If you're on YouTube, just turn on autoplay. It'll take you right on over. Talk to you tomorrow, Pat. Thanks a lot, man.